Hey everyone. Uh, okay, so let me just say this up front. Whoever you are, whatever you did, you absolutely wrecked someone. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in the best possible way. The kind of wrecked where someone thought they had the game figured out, thought they knew exactly how to play, and then you showed up and completely dismantled their entire system. Welcome back. It's Anna. And today we're talking about something that's honestly kind of hilarious when you step back and look at it. There's someone out there right now, someone who had a whole reputation, and you came into their life and just broke them in the most interesting way possible. Let me paint the picture for you. This person, they had a type, they knew their patterns, they'd probably been the same way for years, comfortable, confident, maybe even a little cocky about how relationships worked for them. Some people develop this armor around dating and connection. They figure out a formula, keep things light, don't get too attached, move on before it gets complicated, stay in control. And it works for them until it doesn't. It might feel like you didn't even try that hard. You just showed up as yourself, did your thing. Maybe you were a little distant. Maybe you didn't chase. Maybe you just had standards and stuck to them. And somehow that completely destabilized someone who thought they were untouchable. Let's pause here, because I want you to really think about this. This reflection invites you to consider, did you notice a shift in how this person started acting around you? Like maybe at first they were all smooth and collected, is less than #0. 5# is greater than saying the right things, being charming in that practiced way people get when they've done this before. You may have even been a little underwhelmed initially. Like, okay, this person's attractive, but they're kind of performing, going through motions instead of being genuine. It's possible you almost wrote them off, almost moved on, because you've seen this before and you're not interested in games. But then something shifted. They started trying harder, getting more invested, reaching out more, asking real questions instead of surface ones. And you noticed, but you didn't react the way they expected. Some people are used to effort being reciprocated immediately. They turn on the charm and people melt. They show interest and people match it. They create intensity and people rise to meet it. But you stayed steady, grounded, present but not desperate, interested but not available on demand. And that threw them completely off their game. It can feel like you're watching someone try to use a playbook that suddenly stopped working. They do the thing that usually works, nothing. They try the backup move, still nothing. They pull out their best material and you're just chill about it. This reflection invites you to consider, have you noticed this person working harder for your attention than they probably usually do? There's something specific about what makes someone go from player to played. It's possible what you did wasn't actually strategic. You weren't trying to hook them or flip the script. You were just being selective, having standards, not accepting crumbs or inconsistency. Some people radiate this energy of, I'm fine either way, not cold, not disinterested, just genuinely okay whether this works out or not, because they have a life, have options, have self-respect. And to someone who's used to people being a little too available, a little too eager, that energy is magnetic and confusing and addictive. You may have said no to things, not to play hard to get, but because the offer wasn't good enough, last-minute plans, vague texts, low-effort invitations, you just passed, and each time you passed, their interest went up because you were treating yourself like you're valuable. and people believe what you show them about yourself. This reflection invites you to consider, what boundaries have you held that this person isn't used to encountering? Let me talk about what's probably happening in their head right now. It's possible they're genuinely confused. Like they keep replaying interactions, trying to figure out where they lost control. Because in their experience, they don't lose control. Some people build their identity around being the one who cares less, the one who has options, the one who keeps things casual because they choose to, not because they have to. And then they meet someone who's just naturally at that level, not performing it, but living it. And suddenly they're the one overthinking, the one wondering what you're doing, the one feeling uncertain. You may not realize how much mental real estate you're taking up right now. They might check if you viewed their story, wonder why you didn't text back immediately, analyze your tone, notice who you're talking to. It can feel ironic because these are probably things other people did with them, and now the tables have completely turned. This reflection invites you to consider, have you caught this person acting in ways that seem out of character for how they usually operate? There's something about the title I need to address. What you did to this player. Here's the thing, you didn't really do anything to them. You just refused to participate in their usual dynamic. Some people mistake boundaries for games. They think you're playing hard to get when really you're just being selective. They think you're strategizing when you're just protecting your energy. The difference is intent. Playing games means you're trying to manipulate someone into wanting you. Having standards means you're filtering for someone who's actually worth your time. You may have just been honest about what you need, direct about what you're looking for, clear about what you won't tolerate. And to someone who's used to ambiguity and low expectations, that clarity is both attractive and terrifying because it means they have to actually show up, put in real effort, be consistent, risk something, and players aren't used to having to risk anything. This reflection invites you to consider, did you ask for something specific that most people probably don't ask for from this person? Let me talk about what makes this situation kind of funny. It's possible the same person who is probably juggling multiple options, keeping things casual with everyone, is now fixated on the one person who isn't pressed about it. There's this phenomenon where the person who seems least impressed becomes the most important, not because they're playing games, but because their lack of impression feels like honest feedback. When everyone else is falling over themselves for your attention, it doesn't mean much. But when someone who could have anyone looks at you and goes, meh, maybe, or prove it, that hits different. Some people have never had to prove anything. They've coasted on looks or charm or status. And suddenly here's someone who needs more than that, who wants substance, consistency, actual compatibility. You may represent the first real challenge this person has faced in their dating life in a long time. And challenges are interesting. Challenges create obsession. It can feel almost comical watching someone who was so casual suddenly become so invested, texting more, planning better, actually trying to impress you, showing up on time, remembering details. This reflection invites you to consider, what specific changes have you noticed in how this person shows up? There's something about ego that's worth exploring here. It's possible part of what happened is this person's ego got activated, not in a bad way necessarily, but in a wait, why aren't they as into me as I expected way? Some people are used to being the prize. the one everyone wants. And when they encounter someone who isn't convinced yet, is less than #0. 5 is greater than, it creates this need to win them over, to prove their worth, to convert the skeptic. You may have accidentally triggered their competitive side just by being honestly uncertain about whether they're right for you. You weren't trying to make them chase. You were genuinely evaluating. And that genuine evaluation, that's what made it powerful. Because people can tell the difference between manufactured scarcity and real discernment. One feels like manipulation. The other feels like respect. Respect for yourself and your time. This reflection invites you to consider, do you think this person is more interested in winning you over or genuinely getting to know you? That distinction matters, because if they're just in it for the chase, the second you fully reciprocate, they'll lose interest. But if they're genuinely shifting into something real, the chase is just the beginning. Let me slow down and talk about something important. What you did to this player, it's entertaining to watch. Maybe even satisfying if they used to be dismissive or low effort with you. But here's what actually matters. Are you still interested? Or has watching them scramble made you realize they're not actually what you want? Some people discover that once someone starts acting differently, once the power dynamic shifts, they're not even attracted anymore, because what they wanted was someone who was already showing up correctly, not someone who needed to be taught how. You may be in a position now where you have their full attention and you're not sure you want it, because the version of them that's chasing you feels different from the person they were when they thought they had you. And you might prefer someone who shows up right from the start, who doesn't need to be impressed into effort, who just naturally operates at the level you require. This reflection invites you to consider, now that you have this person's attention, do you actually want it? There's something about timing that's relevant here. It's possible they're coming on strong now because they realize they're losing you, not because they genuinely want something serious, but because their ego can't handle someone walking away. Some people only value what's leaving. They're fine with casual until casual becomes one-sided. They're comfortable with distance until that distance feels permanent. And then suddenly they're ready to commit, to try, to be serious. But that timing tells you something. It tells you they're reactive, not intentional. That they need external pressure to show up. That left to their own devices, they'd still be giving you breadcrumbs. You may need to be honest about whether this person is actually ready for what you want or just scrambling because they're not used to losing. Because there's a difference between someone who wants you and someone who just doesn't want you to want anyone else. This reflection invites you to consider, if this person backed off and went back to being casual, would you even be surprised? Let me talk about what you might actually need from this person if you're considering letting them in. It's possible you need to see consistency over time, not just a few weeks of elevated effort, but months. Proof that this isn't just a reaction to feeling challenged, but an actual shift in how they operate. Some people can fake growth for a little while, show up better temporarily, but eventually the mask slips and you see who they really are, what they're really capable of sustaining. You may need to test this. Not games, just maintaining your standards and seeing if they can keep up, if they stay interested when you're busy, if they respect boundaries when you set them, if they handle conflict maturely, because anyone can be impressive when they're trying to win you. The real question is what happens after they feel like they've won. This reflection invites you to consider, what would this person need to demonstrate before you trust their current level of effort is real. There's something about self-respect that needs to be said here. It's possible the biggest thing you did to this player is you valued yourself consistently, without apology, without negotiation. And that self-respect, it's contagious. It makes other people value you too, or at least makes them realize they should. Some people spend their whole lives trying to figure out how to make someone want them, learning techniques, playing games, reading strategy guides. But the real answer is simpler and harder. Just know what you're worth, treat yourself accordingly, and don't accept less. You remain in complete control of where this goes. You can enjoy the shift. You can reciprocate if they prove themselves. Or you can decide that someone who needed this much convincing isn't actually right for you. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought stuff up. Maybe amusement, maybe validation, maybe uncertainty about whether this person is actually changing or just performing. Whatever it is, trust it. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Trust your own read on this situation. Before we close, I want to ask you something. What's the moment you realized this person was more invested than they wanted to be? Was there a specific interaction or text or behavior change? Drop it in the comments if you want. And if this person goes back to their old ways after they feel secure again, will you be okay walking away? What would it take for you to trust this is real and not just temporary? What you did to this player, honestly, you just existed with standards. You didn't chase, didn't beg, didn't accept crumbs, and that was enough to completely change the dynamic. But also, the real victory isn't in flipping someone. It's in knowing you don't need to, in being genuinely fine either way, in choosing people who show up correctly from the start, not eventually, right now, today. Trust yourself with this trust that you know what you deserve. If this person can meet you there, great. If not, someone else will. You don't need to manage anyone's interest level. You just need to maintain your own standards. I'll see you in the next one. And listen, the best way to handle a player, don't play the game. Just refuse to accept anything less than what you actually want. They'll either level up or self-select out. Either way, you win.